Hi, this is Kathy Quinn with Floriani. Floriani is a division of R&K Distributing, and I want to welcome you to this month's Project of the Month. This month we are going to create a monogram with decor for a pillowcase. I want you to double left mouse click on your Floriani icon on your desktop. This will open our Floriani program, and you notice the first page we see is our My Floriani Today screen. Remember, we've got lots of information on here. Do not forget to download your January designs that are available. Up here we have new release. Now this release was from October of 2010. So I'll just check the number and make sure that it doesn't get to be a higher number and it's time to download the new one. And also our software support is available on this screen for any challenges you may have with your software. Let's go ahead and click on Create a New Design. That is a left mouse click. Now with our program up, I do want to open another program that will help us a little bit here. With our program up, the first thing I want you to do is we are going to look along the ruler bar. That's going to be our first task today. And right here along my ruler bar, it runs along the top and down the left-hand side, we want to make this reflect the workspace that will work best for us today. Now we're going to utilize this a little bit more today than we usually do, but I'm going to first right mouse click on the ruler bar. I will tell it I want to be in inches, so make sure it says inches in the upper right hand corner for you. Now the next thing I want to do is right mouse click and go to Grid Settings. That will be a left mouse click. Now I want you to change your grid to 1 inch grid system. Now notice it'll be 1 inch horizontal and vertical. Make sure, if this is the first time you're using your software, that prior to changing these numbers you have selected the maintain aspect ratio. Make sure you've got a check mark in that box. Let's say OK. Now the next thing we're going to do is we are going to draw a box. You know that I am all about drawing the box. So if you notice, we have an artwork tool. Now Floriani is the only software program in the home market that has an artwork tool, but we are going to utilize it today. I want you to left mouse click on the little down arrow, select the rectangle. Notice that tool is stuck to my cursor so I know what I'm working with. Put it in your upper left hand corner, hold down your left mouse key, and I want you to draw a rectangle. When you let go of your left mouse key, you can see we've got a blue rectangle on the screen. Now this rectangle is as if I came in here and I sketched it with a pencil. It's just a visual at this point for us. Now notice I have a properties box in my upper right hand corner. And this properties box always lets us know what we're doing. It tells us we're working with artwork. The only option I have available right now is I can fill it in. So let's come over to our select tool. Now our select tool is on our upper left hand corner. It looks like an arrow. I want you to left mouse click on it. That will select your rectangle. Now with my rectangle selected, you notice that there's a little black X and then there's these little arrow looking icon. I want you to go ahead and put your cursor on that little black X until it looks like a hand. Hold down your mouse key, your left mouse key, and kind of center that in those other crosshairs. Now you can also hold down the control key on your keyboard and use your arrow keys to nudge it around. Normally I never worry about this because our designs always center when we go to our machine. But for today's exercise, I want my square centered on my screen with the center at 0, 0 and center 0, 0 here. Now with this selected, notice I can do another command over here. I can left mouse click on this transform tab. So let's left mouse click on it. Now I want to deselect You notice right here it says maintain aspect ratio. I have a check mark in this box. I don't want to maintain that ratio because I want to tell it the size I need this rectangle to be, both height and width. So I am going to left mouse click and remove the check mark. Now in the width, our pillowcases from seam to seam are 20 inches wide. So I'm going to put in 20, and height, that band is 4 inches wide. So now I'm going to have a rectangle that's 20 inches long by 4 inches high. Now notice you cannot see my apply key. Depending upon the ratio of your screen, sometimes it's not available. You notice we have a window here. This is our design window. Then we have a little pane here. This is our sequence view. And we have a pane above it. This is my properties. Okay, my apply key should be somewhere right in here, and it's not. That is because of my screen's ratio. These windows are not sized proportionately. So I'm going to come up and put my cursor on the top bar of where it says sequence view. Do you see how my cursor has changed into 2 parallel lines and 2 arrows? Now I can hold down my left mouse key and drag the size of this window down a little bit. And that is how you resize these panes in here when you need to work with them. You just put your cursor right on the top, let it turn into the 2 parallel lines and the 2 arrows, and then by holding down your left mouse key you can drag this up and down. But now I've got my size in here. I can see my apply button. I will left mouse click, and now it looks as if my rectangle has disappeared. So we are going to come to the top to our view box. Left mouse click on the down arrow, and we want to fit this to our screen. There is the band on your pillowcase. So now by placing all of our designs and stuff inside this band, we will know exactly how our placement will look on our pillowcase, so we get no surprises when we go to stitch it out. Now we are going to come into a box up at the top along our top toolbar. You notice I've got 4 little icons here I want to talk to you about really quickly. The A is my text tool. That's any time I'm going to do just regular text. I'm going to put a name in, type in a recipe, whatever I'm going to do. Now the next icon looks like an M. That is my monogram tool. When I select that, it automatically starts me with a 3-letter monogram. It's designed for that. The next little box looks like a book with an A on it. These are additional text embellishment designs. Look through those. There are beautiful things in there and all kinds of little designs to embellish your text. And the last box is my monogram embellishments. That's what we're interested in right now. So I am going to left mouse click on my monogram designs, and notice they all come up, and these are all different embellishments I have to work with monograms. So today we are going to select one MON 97502. It's in your lower left hand corner. It's the bottom row of designs, and I am merely going to left mouse click on that, and it is going to appear on my screen. Now remember, we have set up a grid system here. Notice that this is 2 inches tall. How do I know that? Because my grids are 1 inch. This is going to help us place everything we want to place in here. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to take this apart. We're going to kind of manipulate this little design to give us a different look. So what I'm going to do to start with is I am going to right mouse click on it. Remember, anytime I right mouse click, all my extra options, my hidden treasure, comes up. I am going to go to the word Ungroup, and I will left mouse click. This design came in grouped as one object. I need to take it apart. Now that I've ungrouped it, I can come up to my second icon on my left-hand toolbar, which happens to be my lasso. I'm going to left mouse click on my lasso, and I am going to come and I am just going to lasso one piece of this design, one half. I will right mouse click, and notice the only thing I have selected is the top scroll in this design. With that selected, we are going to right mouse click so I can give it a command, and I'm going to tell it I want to duplicate you. Now, our duplicate is a really nice function. I am just going to set it here on the screen, and I'm going to left mouse click, and you see I have an exact duplicate. I'm going to scoot over and left mouse click. I actually want 3 duplicates. Go next to that one and left mouse click. Now I want you to know that the order that you digitize in is the order it will stitch out in. So right now, this will stitch out first, then it will stitch this one, and this one. We don't want it jumping all over the screen. Now that I have got these 3 duplicated, I am going to come over now on the left hand side, and I'm going to click 1, 2, and 3. So now I have 3 extra scrolls on each side, and now we're going to work with these scrolls individually. We're going to go ahead and get our select tool. Now notice it just selected a piece of this. So I made a mistake. We're going to look at how do we go back and do things easy when we make a mistake. Notice it only selected a piece. I would right now like it to select the whole thing, or I'm going to have to lasso each piece individually to move it around. So remember, our best friend in any software is our undo key. Now Floriani will allow you to undo as many times as you like, and you can redo as many times as you like. So what we're going to do here is I am going to left mouse click on undo once. Notice the first scroll, the last scroll I created, is missing. Undo, undo. Let's move over to the right hand side and continue undo, undo, and undo. Now we're back with our original 2 scrolls. So I again am going to come up and get my lasso tool. Left mouse click on it. Lasso that top scroll. Right mouse click to select it. Now before I duplicate this, I want to group this scroll together. Remember, we ungrouped it so it wasn't all 4 little pieces or both pieces of this design. But now I want this piece grouped so I can deal with those individual scrolls to place them without lassoing each one. So I'm going to right mouse click, and I am going to group this piece. Now it acts as one entity. Now we will right mouse click. Let's duplicate. Left mouse click. Left mouse click, because we want to create 3 of these, and there's our third. So now we have 3 scrolls on our right hand side. Let's move on over, and I want 1, 2, 3 on my left hand side. So now we've got these 6 additional scrolly designs. So let's start working with them. I'm going to come up and get my select tool again. Let's left mouse click on it. Click on your scroll. And now notice we've got this beautiful grid system. I'm going to use my control keys, and I'm going to move this scroll down until this center control box is right along my center line here. And I'm going to scoot this in. I'm using my control keys. Now you can use your mouse and drag it around as well, but I find using these little control keys is a real help. Now I have that design placed where I want it. Now I'm going to come get our next design. Now I'm going to place it as well, but the first thing I want to do is I want to flip it. I want one up, one down, one up. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to go down on my left-hand toolbar. I'm going to come down and I'm going to come to my mirror image horizontal. It takes me a minute to decide if it's horizontal or vertical. This is my mirror image horizontal. Now I'm going to left mouse click on it, and notice now this scroll has turned upside down. Again, I could take my mouse and move it around, which is fine, but then I actually use my control key to go ahead and fine-tune it. Now again, I want the center box going right along this center line in my 4-inch square. So you can see it's right here on the center of the 2-inch line. So now I've got that one centered. And again, I'm going to left mouse click on my last one. I don't need to mirror image it because now it's facing up. Let's bring it in and go ahead and let's go ahead and run this along this line. Now, of course, I've got this zoomed way out. If I want to look and make sure everything is precise and looks good, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I am going to zoom in on this so I can either get my zoom, which is my magnifying glass off the left-hand toolbar, or I can just press Z on my keyboard for zoom, and notice there is my tool. So I'm going to kind of zoom in, holding down my left mouse key, to this area, because I want to make sure that this all looks really good and it looks even along this line. So I see that it looks pretty nice here. It looks like I've pretty well spaced it. But see, I want these about 1/4 inch apart is all. So what's the best way to facilitate this? Come up to your toolbar. Now to get rid of your zoom tool, just hit your escape key. Come up and put your cursor on the top hand toolbar and right mouse click. I want to go to grid settings, and we are going to set this now at 1/4 inch grid setting, 0.25. Let's say OK. Now notice I still have a center in here, but now I can see exactly how close these are, and hey, I did a pretty good job. Look at that. This one's 1/4 inch from there, this one's 1/4 inch, and this one is a little bit off. So let's go ahead and scoot this guy in until he is 1/4 inch. Do you see how easy it was for us to set this up? Let's go ahead and move to the other side, and let's do the same thing. Let's click on our first guy. Let's move him over. Now I need to come down. Remember, I want to center him, this little black box, along our center line, so we know we're centered here. Move it on down. And remember, I want it about 1/4 inch out from these scrolls. And I'm using my control keys just so you get used to them. Everything we need to use more than once to get used to it. There's 1/4 inch. Now I'm going to come take my next design. Remember, we are going to mirror image it vertical. And I told you horizontal a minute ago. We're going to mirror image vertical, excuse me. There it is. Now again, I'm going to move this along. I want it along this line. Let's go ahead and make sure it's centered and it's 1/4 inch. And let's come on down and do our last nice little scroll here. And again, I'm going to move it over, and I'm going to use my control keys to make sure that I have got this accurate, nudging it. So now you see, if we fit to screen again, come up to our top view box and fit to screen, you can see our entire design. Now the next thing I want to do in here is, again, I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to push the Z on my keyboard, and I'm going to zoom into this center here. Now I want, and I need to zoom out just a little bit because I do want to see this top and bottom line. I want to put a monogram letter in here. But right now I have 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch, 3/4. I only have 1 inch between these two scroll pieces. I want more space. I want the tip of this bud only 1/2 inch down from my edge of my pillowcase. So to facilitate that, I'm going to select this. I am going to use my control key, and I'm going to move this up until it kisses the 1/2 inch line. How do I know it's 1/2 inch? I got a 1/4 inch grid system. So I would come down 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch. Now here I want to do the same thing, but remember, when we ungrouped that original design, it ungrouped the whole thing. So I'm going to need to lasso this one. Let's come up to our second key down. Left mouse click on your lasso. Draw around this scroll. Right mouse click. Now that you've selected it, right mouse click and group it. Now again, I am going to hold down my control key, and I'm going to bring this down until it kisses that line again. So there I have. Now how much space do we have? We've got, let me make sure that's down. Okay, I have got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I've got about a little more than 1.5 inches in here now, so I can put a larger letter. Now we are going to come to our alphabet. I am going to click in the center, just set an alphabet there, and I have got right now, the last thing I ever picked was a Victorian monogram style. You can come in here and you can go through and pick whatever alphabet you like for the letter you're going to use. I don't even remember what, you can pick all kinds of goodies, whichever you like and is attractive to you. Don't spend all day looking through these to finish this exercise. Let me show you a quick way to look at your alphabets. Come up to the word help. Left mouse click. Go to the word contents. Left mouse click. This is going to bring up the help for your software. If you come in here, you can go down to the word Lettering Pro. There's a little plus before the book. Left mouse click and click on the word fonts. Now you can see all of your fonts that are in your lettering. Now these don't include your monogram fonts. You would have to come and look in the monogramming. But you can kind of look through here and see what you would like your letter to look like. It just is easier. Now here I kind of like this cursive. I like this cursive script. But you pick whatever letter looks best to you. The fan is pretty. But go through and pick the name you like so you can go back into your alphabets, and it's very easy for you. I think I'm going to go with, oh, it's hard, isn't it? See, even looking at these, there's Isadora, there's Old English, there's Monogram, there's all kinds of pretty things in here. So go ahead and pick the one you like, find the name you like, and then come over here and drop down your box and look for the one that you liked. I think I'm going to go with Isadora, and I am now going to make this 1.5 inches tall. You notice I changed it in my height box. Now I'm going to apply. Then I'm going to come and make sure your cursor turns into a hand. I am going to come and I am going to, again, kind of fit this in here. Now I've decided that is a little bit too bold for my design. No problem. Let's come in here, and I think I'm going to go up, and I think I'm going to look at that cursive. that I saw. So see, you can pick, and you're not stuck with what you pick. I like that one a little better. So now again, it's put in here. I may not like this little wingy thing here. It's all personal preference. Select your letter. Now you notice when I had it a minute ago, it had all its control points on it. I don't need to use any of those for this exercise. So what I'm going to do is come up to my upper left-hand corner and get my select tool. When I select it, notice now that this is selected and it's got control boxes around it. Again, I can come in here and I could center it with the box. There is your perfect mathematical center. That just flat looks weird. So we want to center it where visually it is attractive. I don't care what it's supposed to look like or supposed to be centered. I want it how it's going to look good. And I am not going to be able to stay with that. So I'm going to go with cursive script. There we go. Now I'm better off. But you can see, you can come through here and you can go through, pick your lettering, pick something you like, and put it in there where it looks good for you. Now, of course, you're going to pick the letter you want. I want a D. I'm going to make this for my granddaughter, Dietza. So there is my D. I can use my arrows, of course, to come in here and fine-tune it. And I find that I like that great. Now here's where we need to make our other changes. We need to change our colors. Now the first thing I'm going to do is select the D. Let's look down on our bottom toolbar. Now notice that all of these designs came in to my software as Madeira Rayon. That's because when these were originally done, they were originally done in Madeira colors. Even if your default color chart is something different, when you bring these straight in, they're going to come as Madeira. Now, if I saved this and brought it back in, it would match to my default color chart. So I think that's what we're going to do to make it easier. So the first thing I want to do, though, is look at your colors along the bottom. There is the original 8 colors that are always on your toolbar. Those are just things that you can work with that are our default thread palette. Notice, though, 8, 9, 10, and 11 are the colors that are actually in this design. So the first thing I want to do is I want to change this D. And I'm going to change it to color number 9 for right now. I'm going to put my cursor on color number 9 and right mouse click. So now notice my D matches the pink in the scrolls. Now I'm going to also come down here and I want you to notice in the far right hand corner you've got a plus and a minus sign. Those are to control the colors, the number of colors you have on your color bar. If I needed to add more colors, I could just say plus. Notice it continues to add colors. I could change them to different colors, but I can add as many as I want. Now the minus sign is what we're interested in today. It will remove any colors off this bar that are not in our design. So I'm going to left mouse click and I'm going to remove the colors. Now notice blue stayed because my artwork box is blue. So it's still there. It's not going to stitch out. It's not going to go to our machine because this just happens to be artwork, so it never goes to stitches. Now notice it's in sulky. Why? Let's come to our tools bar. We're going to talk about how to set up our default thread palette. Let's left mouse click on tools, come down to the words general options. Now notice you have a default thread chart. Mine was set at sulky rayon because I was showing somebody how to use this feature. I'm going to left mouse click and I am going to select Floriani polyester because that is what I stitch with. I used Floriani thread. You may use another thread palette. Notice it will probably be in here. Left mouse click and say OK. Now this did not change because it was already on the screen. But when I save it and bring it back, everything will come back as a Floriani color. So right now, we are going to do that. Now, if yours is already in your default thread palette, well, you're still going to have your Madeira. Let's go ahead and say File, Save As. Now, I'm going to save this as a C2S file. We are going to go ahead and create a folder. Now, if you go to C, Floriani, and under Designs, this is where I want you to create a folder. Now up at the top you're going to have a little folder with like a little star on it. Left mouse click on that and we are going to name this Monogram Pillowcase just for today's exercise. Now here I'm going to put first. This is our first try. Now notice I'm saving it in Floriani C2S. I'm going to save it as, I'm going to drop this down, and I could save it as anything. Right now I'm just going to save it as a Floriani file. Save. Alright, now I want you to come up here to your second icon on your top toolbar. That is your open folder. We are going to left mouse click on it. We are going to go into our Monogram Pillowcase file and we are going to get that C2S design I saved that is just flat out not there. Let's try again. File, Save As. I've got it named first. I'm going to come into my Monogram Pillowcase. Oh, I realized I didn't open that file when I went to save it. So at least now I know how I lost it. Now let's save. Now go back. Let's open it. There is my first. I want you to open that and notice it stayed in the same colors. Why? Because I saved it as a C2S file. That is a working file and it's saved exactly like I was working on it. So now I'm going to say File, Save As, and now I'm going to save it as first. I'm going to pick PES. You can pick whatever you want. Now I will save it. Okay, and now when I open, I'm going to open my first PES file, PE, and I'm going to open it. Now notice it came in all Floriani colors. Now to explain what's going on here is that whenever you save anything in your C2S file, that is the native working format for Floriani. It is not truly a stitch file, it's a working file. And it holds it pure. So if you make any changes, and as long as you save it as a C2S, nothing in it gets messed up or corrupted. So you always have that pristine file to go back to. Because occasionally when we save files and do things, what happens to us is it actually sometimes will corrupt a little information going over, and then it's hard to fix the corrupted file. Whereas if you always save that pristine file, it even saved it no matter what my color palette was, it still saved it as those Madeira and Sulky Rayon colors. So you can see how clean that C2S file keeps it. Okay, but now we're up with the Floriani file, and I want you to notice it did not keep the blue box because that was never stitches. It was only a visual for us anyway. We do not any longer need it. We've got everything placed like we want it. Now here's your last step of this. We are going to have to break this up because this is actually, if we look, we can come in here and I can go to Select All. We're going to go to Edit and we're going to say Select Everything here. So we've selected our whole design. I want to right mouse click on this and go to the word Transform. Notice this is 19 inches wide and it's about 3 inches tall. Well, we don't have any problems with the height. We've got problems with the width. Well, the first thing I want to do, looking at this, is I want to move my 2 scrolls in, my 2 sides of my scrolls. So what I'm going to do is take my lasso tool, and I'm going to lasso these 3. Right mouse click. Now I'm going to take my arrow tool, and I'm going to move this in, because actually I want to move it in closer to the D. See, until I had my lettering in there, I did not know exactly how it was going to look. So now I'm going to lasso my right hand side. Right mouse click. Now I moved this in to about 1/4 inch within the D, because you can see on our grid system. Let's move this one in the same. Yep, right there. Now let's go ahead and go to Edit, Select All, right mouse click, Transform. Now we're about 18 inches. What we're going to have to do is break this design up. We're going to have to split it so that we can stitch it out on our machines. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the center. I always stitch the center first and then go out from there. So we're going to lasso. We're going to come in here and I'm going to lasso this. And I'm just going to left mouse click around it. You don't have to draw. Right mouse click. Now you see I've selected that center. I'm going to right mouse click on it. I'm going to copy. Open a new piece of paper. Right mouse click and paste. There is my center. Now the next thing we want to do is it's going to stitch out the D last. The D is my very center. I want the D to stitch out first. So in your sequence view, notice it's on the bottom right hand pane. There's our sequence view. And it shows us the order this is going to stitch out in. First is going to be that top pink, then it's going to be the little side of our bud, then it's going to be our green, and then is going to be our center D. I want the D first. So I'm going to left mouse click on it. While holding down my left mouse key, I'm going to drag it up to the top. Now notice the first thing that stitches is my D. It's going to stitch, and then my scrollies are going to stitch. That's how I want it to stitch out. Now I'm going to save this. File, Save As. And I am going to name this Center Mono. There's my center monogram. Now, of course, I'm going to save it in my machine format. Pick your machine format and save. Now go ahead and go back. You can tab along the bottom. I love this tab along the bottom. I'm going to tab back to my first design. Not my first C2S, but my first one that I saved with my as PES already, that's got my colors correct. Now we are going to lasso the right hand side. So I want you to come get your lasso tool, and now let's lasso these. Right mouse click. Right mouse click on it. I want you to copy, new piece of paper, right mouse click and paste. Now we've got a little bit of work to do. I want you to notice something here. In your sequence view, I'm going to bring it up tall. Remember, if I put my cursor on the top line, I can drag it up. In my sequence view, do you notice I've got color 9, color 9, color 9? This is all going to stitch out. It's going to stitch this pink, then this pink, then this pink, then come back. It's going to go pink, your shading, and your green. Pink, your shading, and green. That's a lot of color changes. Let's come up here and go to Edit. On your Edit, at your top toolbar, left mouse click on Resequence by Color. Now look, it's combined all those colors, and we're going to do all of the Zephyr, all of the Silver, and all of the Irish Green. That way we don't have to change thread over and over. Now that we have resequenced it, we're going to say File, Save As, and now we're going to put right side mono. Remember to save it in the format you want to stitch out in. Save. Notice when you're doing this, we're going to go back. We've saved this as right side mono. I'm going to go back now again to my first, and we are going to go ahead and get the left hand side. Get your lasso tool, and let's go ahead and lasso the left hand side now. Right mouse click to select, right mouse click to copy, and go ahead and get a new piece of paper, right mouse click to paste. Again, we've got all these colors, so what are we going to do? Now we are going to notice that when I clicked on a piece of it, it opened up my sequence view. When your sequence view opens up, it's actually showing you each stitch under that color, which is a wonderful thing if you're trying to edit. But when you're looking at it, it just looks like a whole lot of stuff. If this happens, put your cursor in your sequence view pane, right mouse click, and tell it to collapse. Now it's back down just showing you these colors. But again, we've got all these colors. We need to go to Edit, Resequence by Color, and again, it has combined the colors in. Now you could, it's all personal preference, if you wanted these scrolls to kiss each other, you could have pushed those in smaller. Let me look here though. I want to see how big these three scrolls are, how long they are. Right mouse click and go to Transform. Now we can't see our properties because we drug our sequence view up. Let's come back up here, drag your sequence view down, and notice this is 8 inches wide. I don't know how wide your hoop is, how long you have to stitch in. So remember, you've seen how we've chopped this design up. Let's go ahead and save this, and we'll continue to talk about this. Save as. Now I'm going to say this is left side mono. Go back to my format that I want it in, and I'm going to save. Now if your machine has a smaller stitching area, what are you going to need to do? Well, you might can only get 2 scrolls in a hoop. So you might do 2 and then the 1. Now rehooping with this is going to be a piece of cake, and I'll show you why. What we're going to do in the construction portion is you will be printing this out. Now what I would be doing is when I go to design, my center design, and notice it still says Design 2. It doesn't have its name, but if I opened it back up, it would. I've got Design 2 here. I am going to go File, and I'm going to go to Print Preview right now. Let's look at the Print Preview. Now notice you have settings up here for Print Preview. Now on the settings, you can have all kinds of stuff show up on this page. I could have the color analysis. I could tell it to all fit on one page, but I don't want that. I want actual size. I could have a header to tell me what's going on. I could do the 3D. We could put a footer in, and we could actually print our hoop out. Notice as I select these options, more information is on my page. Well, for me and what we're doing today, I don't want to waste all this other ink. All I need is I need the actual size and the crosshairs, and I need to see the stitches. That's all I need to see. So with those 3 boxes selected, I will say OK. Now I'm going to print this out, this on template tearaway. I will cut away from around here. I will have marked my pillowcase band with the center horizontal and the center vertical, and I'll place this in the center and stitch it out. I've done the first hooping. Now I'm going to use the new snap hoop, so it's almost like having a continuous hoop that I can just slide this down very easily. Then I will go to my right side. I'm going to go to File, Print Preview. Again, I am going to print this out. Now there's no need to print all three out because they're both identical on the right and the left side. So I will print this out. Then I will cut around it, and I will use this to stick down along my center line, making sure I put it exactly where I want it next to my center design. And then I've got this center to center my machine in to go ahead and stitch out. So whether you're stitching out one scroll at a time, or you can stitch out 3, or maybe you've got a huge hoop and you can stitch out the whole design at once. This is how you're going to hoop with accuracy and have no issues. So I want to thank you for coming to the software portion of today's lesson. I hope you've learned a lot, and I hope you've enjoyed. I look forward to seeing you in the construction portion. Thank you very much.